Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm taking a look at the Master Grade Zeta Gundam Verka. And when you see that Verka on a white box, you know this kit is going to be an absolute event. So far I'm absolutely and truly blown away by this kit, but I haven't put it through the runner just yet. That is what I'm going to do today. But if you want to see what goes into the building of this kit, I did do a build video on that. You can check that out if you have not already. And if you do want one of these of your own, I got this through Hobby Link Japan, so I will throw a link to them down there in the description. Now let's get right on into it. So now jumping into the aesthetics, and this is one beautiful kit right here. Everything about it looks perfection. Right out of box it looked great, but as you can see right here, there is a little bit more put into it. So first off, I will mention, out of box build, this does look incredible. This right here is what it looks like out of box, and then with a little bit more, it can look like this right here. Now this is my first ever time putting all of the decals onto a Katoki kit, and it wasn't necessarily as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it would take forever. It took a solid day. For me, I find decals can tend to flake off, especially with this many. The chance of that happening is very high, so I did top coat this in the end with Mr. Hobby Premium Flat Top Coat, or whatever it says on the can right there. I threw the can out. However, not every decal on this did make it out. It is quite difficult to handle a kit like this with so many decals while popping them on, but what I got in the end does look incredible. This is very nice. There is just something about a Verka kit not necessarily looking like a Verka kit until you get all of those decals on there, and it is totally worth it. So this right here isn't the first ever Master Grade Zeta Gundam. Actually, there's at least 3 that I know off the top of my head, and there might be more 1/100s out there on top of that. Now when it comes to the manual with this kit, it does have a nice interview in it with Katoki himself, but basically it gets to some of the design elements that were included in this particular iteration of the Zeta Gundam. So it seems like there's 2 main things they're going for. That is to make sure the transformation on this is pretty much perfect, which I'll pop up on the screen right now if it is or not, because I haven't gotten around to doing that just yet. And the other aspect is to make this look as close to the original 80s design as possible, because one of Katoki's gripes seems to be that every time the model kit designers design a version of Zeta for model kits, they try to make it look cooler than it did, which of course is a completely subjective idea. So one of the big changes compared to what we would have seen before is the chest. This is very flat, points downwards, and very blocky in comparison to what we would have seen before, especially with other master grades. On top of that, there was also some very deliberate design aspects that were amalgamated into this from that original design. One is this has massive hands and pretty big feet and a big head to boot. The hands to me are the most noticeable aspect about this because they are incredibly large. Also, the palm and the lower part of the finger is in white, or should I say, the lower part of the thumb, which makes this look incredibly unique amongst Gundams and amongst Gunpla, which once again is based on the original design. That right there is the full 360-degree spin of this finished kit, just for you to check out yourself and decide whether you like this particular design or not, because one of the things you guys asked me for to be shown in this particular review right here is a comparison with the Master Grade 2.0, which is pretty much what we're going to get into. Comparison time. So as for a bit of a normal size comparison first, there it is side by side with a standard sized 1/100 kit being the RX 78-2 from the Origin. So as you can see, that makes it slightly taller than your average sized Gundam. Now there it is beside the last Zeta Katoki release, which is the double Zeta Verka. As you can see, that's quite sizable, mainly in general mass, but also a little bit taller than the Zeta Verka. As for some non-UC Gundams, there is the Age 1 Flat and the Full Mechanics Gundam Aerial. So I asked you guys what you'd like to see in the review, and more than anything else what you guys wanted to see was a comparison with this right here. Now this is the Master Grade Zeta 2.0. Now just in case you don't know anything about the Master Grade Zeta Gundam 2.0, I've done a review of this not that long ago, so you can check that out in advance if you want to know about this particular kit. Now I was very impressed by this kit. This kit came out in 2005, making it almost 20 years old, so I know a lot of people say that Bandai should have released something else right now for the next Master Grade or the next Master Grade Verka, but it has almost been 20 years since this core UC Mecha got a Master Grade release. Now this is one hell of an update we're talking about today. This kit, the 2.0, is quite good. For its date, it's awesome. And overall, it's still a nice kit, it just is not perfect. The transformation is very impressive, but it can be a little difficult. And I guess just to sum it up in general, this thing can't stand up without me sticking some blue tack on its heels. It's, well, solid enough. It's not the greatest designed kit. For its time it was, but not anymore. This blows it out of the water. So for this little bit right here, I'm going to be doing a direct comparison between the different units of both of the kits. So what we're looking at right here, this is the 2.0's head. So as you can see, all the details really nice. What I'd really point out here is the fact that the Vulcans are in the plastic color there, and generally the shape as well. Now that right there is the Verka. Now I can see the side-by-side that you'd be seeing right now, but there is a lot different to the shape of the head. Ignore the decals because there isn't meant to be any decals on the head of a Verka. I just wanted to use some of the leftover ones. But besides that, the Vulcans on this particular kit are in a nice, shiny painted metal color. The stickers seem to have a little bit of a better quality in the eyes and the head camera. We've got a nice bit of grey plastic poking through on the center red aspect of the V-fin, and it is also worth noting that the eyes are color separated entirely, so even though you see stickers there, underneath it is in clear plastic with nice grey plastic around them. So next up we're going to be talking about the chest unit. This right here is the 2.0 once again. As you can see, the chest vents are pointing pretty much forward at an almost 45-degree angle between right in front of it and the ground. We don't have anything extra in the chest, which is anime accurate, and it all looks pretty nice. There isn't really much to say, it's plain, we've got some panel lining, but not much else. Next up then is the Verka. What really steals the show for me here is the vortex generators. Those little silver, little spiky segments coming out of the chest like we would have seen on the double Zeta Verka. Also, the vents are pointing right at the ground at a lot harsher of an angle, and those little blue plates in the chest, these ones right here, these move where they did not move before. We also have some grey coming through in at the waist a little bit, which just looks very nicely layered. Very beautiful. Also, like we saw in the manual, this is a very sloped chest compared to this one right here, which has a kind of roundy aspect to it. And again, pointing right forward, this is pointing right down. So when it comes to the arms, on the Zeta 2.0 right here, you can tell that this is the part that is aged the most from what we've looked at. Inside of the vent there is very, very plain up top. There's nothing really going on. And when it comes to the actual hands, we've got these absolutely awful 2.0 hands that really don't work that well at all. Plus, it's not color accurate, is it, compared to the original design? And that right there is a nub. Seriously, I reviewed this and everything, and somehow there's a nub. Now what we've got right here with the Verka is a lot fancier. Up inside of the vent up top, we do have some nice grey parts. It's color separated. We've even got some grey little divots on the side of that flap. There is grey coming through on the red segment as well. The detailing is fantastic. And when it comes to the hands, we've got these nice pre-posed hands in here. A lot nicer. I'm not sure how the holding hands work yet, but we'll find out. And I will also mention that that is just a, well, taking a physical look at it. When it comes to the bend on this, it's just a double jointed bend in the elbow, which is nice, but that is pretty much it. Comparatively, the Verka right here does allow for an absolutely phenomenal bend, a little bit of this kind of like side to side pivot in order to make it look kind of curved in some poses, and this opening segment right here, which is part of the transformation, so there's a lot going on. Also, like the manual said, the hands have been increased in size, so the Verka is huge. Back there, on the 2.0, not so much. Now, as you move down and down and down on the 2.0 right here, it does get quite plain. The front skirting armor is just two white plates, there's nothing to them, nothing around back, and overall there really isn't much going on at all. Jumping then over to the Verka, we've got so much layering going on. Each part has at least one point of layering. We've got some grey here, some silver, and grey here, and the side skirtings have that layering too. And on top of all of that, we also do have grey segmenting underneath everything, even some silver under there as well. This kit is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Moving down to the leg right here, and as you can see, again, everything is as it should be. There's just nothing really fancy going on. This right here, I will mention I had to paint yellow, so that is not color separated, and it is very basic. We've got a bit of a wicked mold line here too, so as you can see, it could be a lot better. Flipping then around to the back, and there's some nice detail, including some ridging in that little bit of a wire segment right there. But yeah, back heavy. And I was going to say the thrusters aren't too bad there, but I've actually painted those. Otherwise, they are red like that right there, which isn't the greatest looking. Then there is the Verka. There is a whole lot going on here. So for the most part, it is a lot of nice separation, a lot of nice colors. The yellow right here, that is all color separated entirely. Everything is color separated on this kit. Flipping around to the back, and as you can see, everything here is just a lot more detailed. We've got these large parts sticking out right here compared to what we saw on the standard Master Grade 2.0. And all of the verniers around back and under there are all dual layered out of box, just snapped together. And they've got gray on the outside, red on the inside. Moving now to the feet on the 2.0, once again, everything is as it should be. Color separated to where it needs to be color separated, but a little plain to look at, especially after you see this. There's the Verka with some nice clean angles and even some color separation of the gray coming through from below onto the sides of the feet. Absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of the feet, the bottom of these have been given all the detail. Look at that gray coming through. We've even got some silver. That's beautiful. That right there is the bottom of the 2.0's feet. Very, very, very plain. Blue tack for stability. Not included. The wings on this are, for the most part, they're made out of one piece. There isn't really much sandwiching of parts or detailing, but they're in a navy blue. Now, that always looked fine to me. Until this right here, the black is so much nicer, so much cooler. And if I'm not mistaken, that's usually the color you see on the Zeta. But that looks good. Lots of nice sandwiching of parts as well. So when it comes to the overall aesthetics on the Master Grade Zeta Verka, there really are some aspects that really bring it to the next level. The geometric flat surfaces catch the light awesomely. The extra detailing, like the colors coming through from the underlayers, that's gray coming through onto the surface, yellow coming through onto the surface, really breaks up the monotony of a lot of surfaces without resorting to panel lining, which is a very natural way to add ridiculous amounts of detail. With those vortex generators coming through the chest looks so cool, and so do all of the other silver aspects all over the kit, including the bottoms of its feet. The attention to detail here is absolute perfection, and this looks so perfect from absolutely every angle. Let's check out what it comes with. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the Master Grade Zeta Gundam Verka. We get 2 grenade canisters for on the arms. We've got that shield in incredible detail. Speaking of incredible detail, we've got the beam rifle as well, a pair of beam sabers. We've got some alternate hands, which are alternate to the ones that are on right now. A choice of 3 different pairs of fingers for using on the hands that are on right now. That's the ones with the moving thumbs. We've got some adapters for attaching this onto an action base, not included. An alternate V fin, as well as something that I feel is a lost art in gunpla these days. A 1/100 scale pilot figure, and this of course is Camille. And remember, Camille's a man's name, and he's a man. Anyway, let's check this all out one at a time. Now, very quickly, there is what comes with the 2.0, just in case you're curious. Now, this is a case of, do you want quantity over quality? If you want quality, you go with this kit. If you want quantity, the 2.0 definitely has it beaten, with that big old hyper launcher, as well as a full action base that can attach onto the Mark II's action base. So as for the fingers we have in here, these just pop on just like so. These are the ones that I've had on the entire time, which are a nicely posed set of widespread open fingers. On top of that, then, we've got a pair of beam rifle holding hands. This is just a trigger finger, and then we've got the beam saber holding hands, which are just some holding fingers. These are easy to swap in and out, and do feel ridiculously secure. Now, the completely alternate set of hands we have in here are these guys right here. These are a pair of pre-posed fists. Now, these can be used as fists, and I can only assume these will be used later on in the transformation as well. So swapping the hands is easy enough. They are held on quite tight, so be careful with those. The last kit I had, that was a Verka. The wrists were very delicate on them, or should I say on it, and that was on the Wing Zero Verka. Yeah, I might have broke one. So yeah, when they're attached, these look very nice. These are super nicely designed fists right here. It is also definitely worth noting that the wrist on this particular hand right here, this fist, does actually feature a little bit of a hinge in the actual hand on top of the one we have in the wrist. Moving on to the weapons and equipment now. First off, we've got the beam sabers. The beams in here are the oldest aspect of this kit, the only thing reused from before, so they are very standard. The handles themselves are quite simple too, they're just one piece, and to attach them into the hand they just attach into a little bit of a tab inside of the fingers that we attached on a little while ago. These hold on perfectly, look absolutely fantastic in a pose, and when they're not in use just pop off the beam as usual, and these can be stored in an opening compartment on the side skirt armor. So the next weapon that we have in here is the beam rifle, which looks absolutely gorgeous. Just like we would have seen in the build, there is a lot going inside of this for a beam rifle. Usually we don't see this much detail. The yellow you're seeing there, that is coming through from the underside, which is absolutely phenomenal. We've got an extending barrel mechanism, just like so. We have a green foil sticker up here for the sight, but I will mention there is a clear part underneath that in colorless clear. But as for this sight down here, this little segment on the very bottom under the barrel, this one is just a sticker. There is no detail in underneath that. As for the other moving parts, we have that barrel like we saw. The handle can fold up like so for storage. We do have two fold out pegs on the underside, one at the absolute rear and one a little bit closer towards the front, but still at the absolute rear. They fold out easily enough. You've got a little bit of a tab to get some leverage on these, and that's what they look like popped out. The E-cap here, that can be removed by popping it off like so, and there is some nice detail underneath that. And just for a little bit of a quick comparison, this right here is the variant that came with the 2.0. So as you can see, not as much detail at all, not as much color separation. A lot of the same moving parts are there, but they do not look as pretty. And in total, definitely not as nice as what we're seeing right here with the Verka. Attaching this into the hand is super simple. These are the swappable style fingers. Inside of this we have a little tab that connects right into the handle of the hand, which holds on super securely. The same goes when you actually attach the fingers into the hand itself. That is super secure too, all for an absolutely perfect, impeccable grip. Now, we'll mention the posing right here might be a little bit on the awkward side. That's nothing to do with the model kit itself. It's actually because I top coated and decaled this before actually trying out any poses, which wasn't the greatest idea. I'm terrified of scraping something off or knocking off a decal, so it will be a little bit on the awkward side at times when it comes to the poses. But this poses up nicely, the weapon looks fantastic, and the hold is absolutely rock solid. Unlike the Master Grade Zeta 2.0, there is no included stand inside of this box, so that does mean you will have to bring your own. All we get in here is some base adapters. The first one we have in here is for the standard mobile suit mode. This attaches into the crotch in a unique kind of way, which can be a little bit difficult. This latches either side of both legs and either side of the actual waist unit, holding the legs in an untransformed position, giving it a little bit of extra support when you're posing it in the air, which works out very, very well. When it's not in use and you want to store it on the mobile suit, all you have to do is fold up the handle, collapse in the barrel, flip out this particular peg segment right here, and this can be attached into the arms, specifically according to the manual, onto the left arm like so. This is almost a clip as opposed to a peg, so it holds on rock solid, and this is what it looks like stored away in the back of the arm. Absolutely perfect. Next up then in here is the shield, and once again everything you're seeing is color separation, from that tiny little piece of yellow there to that piece of yellow there, all the underside looking like actual mechanical pieces. We've got moving parts such as the arm segment in here, this little piece right here that can move out just like so, like the rifle, a sliding extension gimmick as well. It all is just absolutely phenomenal, even down to this tiny little bit of yellow detailing down here. So as for attaching this, just like we would have seen with the rifle just there, this attaches via this little peg segment right here into the back of the arm like so. Everything still works while it is attached, including this extension retraction gimmick, the arm for aligning this into whatever pose that you're looking for, and this, just like we've seen so far, looks phenomenal. So the next piece of equipment we have in here is a pair, so that is 2 grenade launchers. That is this thing right here. The detail on these is quite nice. They don't actually do anything. It's 2 blue parts sandwiched around a grey piece, which just have the detail down here of the grenades inside of it. These attach onto the exact same part of the forearm that all the equipment has been attaching onto so far. So attaching these on is super simple. They can attach onto either or arm or both arms at once using a peg in the exact same way we saw with the last 2 weapons. These work in tandem with the grenade launch gimmick that is in the arm. If you slide these forward, the grenades come out through the flap round front, but you will need to bring the flap the rest of the way down yourself. This is a pretty cool gimmick, and these containers add a nice level of bulk to the arms that looks pretty cool. Now, we do not get some of the crazy stuff that we would have seen with the Master Grade Zeta 2.0, which would have been the full action base and the large launcher, but to me, the quality here definitely outweighs the quantity. So now jumping into the articulation and the usual comment on the build here, you can shake the absolute crap out of this and it won't move a centimeter. Now I will mention I did actually top coat all of this with the parts detached, so that does mean it would have tightened up a little bit more, but even when I had it straight built, this thing is rock solid, especially in comparison to any, and I mean any, perfect grade, real grade, master grade Zeta that I've ever seen before. So anyway, throwing the Master Grade Zeta Verka into the usual pose, and this kid absolutely dominates it. There is so much going on in here. There's articulation upon articulation upon articulation, and in usual Zeta fashion, there is a transformation in there as well, some of which gives you even more articulation, like up in the shoulders. This is a mechanical and engineering marvel. Everything that happens here happens perfectly, and it still poses like a mobile suit without a transformation. Nothing is loose, nothing is wonky, everything moves the way you want it to. Everything is so good. Just lifting up this bit at the back here, you can see inside the torso we've got tons and tons of actual robot articulation on top of the transformation gimmicks. It is outstanding. Now, if I was to be a contrarian and complain about something, I would complain about the feet a little bit. There isn't that much articulation to the pivot side to side, a little bit to the pivot front and back as well, due to all the Zeta style armor around the ankles. This really doesn't make any difference whatsoever, because you can angle the legs around to get those feet on the ground with all of the other stuff that is going on. This is insane. I'll also mention this is the only pose I'm going to be doing because this is top coated, don't want to scratch it or remove the decals. Transformation time. So finally, when it comes to the Master Grade Zeta Verka right here, it's time to check out the Wave Rider mode, aka its flight mode. This looks absolutely over the top awesome, just like this kit did in mobile suit mode, with all the same detail, a great silhouette, and the mechanical structure and that mechanical detail on here is mind-blowing. However, I will mention that this is a tough transformation, and at the same time, it does have a couple of little niggly bits that like to untransform when you're handling it. But let's move on back. Here's what it looked like getting transformed. So yeah, once again, this is a ridiculously well engineered and impressive transformation. Now, this is going to take me a couple of times to get it just right because there's a couple of bits that just aren't perfect. There's some parts that like to come apart while it is transformed, especially while you are transforming it. You have to do the legs and the upper body around the same time, which just means it's easy to pop things out here and there. A couple of the little kind of clip mechanisms or latch mechanisms that keep it in place seem to be designed more so for when it's in mobile suit mode, so you've got a rock solid mobile suit, because of course that'll be moving around. Not so much here with the Wave Rider. That does mean just general handling can make something pop, move, slide, or kind of untransform on you, which you may not notice. So this is definitely a transform it and get it on your shelf situation right here. However though, it does look absolutely mesmerizing. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and of course this kit right here is Gundarium tier as good as it gets, and this is the greatest Zeta I have ever laid my hands on. When it comes to the aesthetics, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's new meets old. Great new aesthetic model kit features mixed with the original design the way Kotoki wanted it. When it comes to accessories in here compared to what we would have saw with the 2.0, this is quality over quantity. You don't get as much as we would have previously seen, but it's all absolutely perfect and everything does what it needs to do and more. When it comes to the articulation on this is absolutely phenomenal. Even though there is a transformation in there, it does not undermine the mobile suit mode at all. And finally then, when it comes to the transformation here, this is complex, this is so well engineered, and if you like transforming difficult transformations, and I mean it's not difficult because it's janky and falling apart, it's difficult because it is so intricate on so many levels. If you like that sort of thing, you will love it. If you've got kind of not so deft to hands, it might drive you insane. I thought it was really, really good. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I got mine through Hobby Link Japan. There will be a link down there in the description. And remember, pre-ordering is key nowadays. And, well, I guess I'll see you next time. Once again, this video right here, and none of these videos would be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and here on the channel memberships, including 10 Soldier YT, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, Org59061, and Van Fawn. God, I'm going to be picking up flake decals for months. I'm never decaling a kit for a review again. Never.